Hey man, nice to meet you.
You too.
I'm Brian.
Hi,
Toti.
Brian. Nice to
Pleasure.
meet
How do
you.
you do? Yeah, hop on in.
Okay.
Hey man, let me ask you, dude, nice to meet you. Toti from Philippines.
Yes.
Dude, let me ask you to throw in a mic. I got a buzz going on the last time I was streaming from the car. There's a mic right here. Just it's got the magnet or the clip, whichever one you like. And I think we're going on it. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't mind?
No.
Okay, we'll figure this out. Hey, dude, you're from Toti. Yeah, so nice to meet you. Welcome back to Japan. You're
Thank you.
coming here frequently.
Yeah, for the past
20
decade or
years.
so.
Okay.
Not 20.
Okay.
Maybe
10.
decade. For a time I thought Japan was so difficult to go to. Like
Right.
you had to have a sponsor and
Right.
things like that. But eventually,
You can find out it's easy to come here. Well, okay, so here's what we're doing. We're rolling, and I'm very happy to have you hang out. So Tokyo Records, I'm Brian. TokyoRecordStyle is like this celebration of record and
Right.
music loving, right? And I want to drive it on because we're going to go to this record fair, but I want to set the stage up how we kind of got connected.
Sure, yeah.
So what I do is basically if I spot people with their record store bags, I
Yep.
chat them up and take a picture. By the way, nice GR. I love the GR.
oh, thank you. This is the older one.
I have the very, very first
Oh,
one.
I have it too. It's now my son's.
They break easily, right?
Yeah, a bit.
I've had a lot of repair, and I also have the film one. The film ones are quite
Oh, really?
cool. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
okay. But I like them.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're great.
yeah.
They're the greatest camera. The GR, the Ricoh GR, one of the coolest cameras ever.
Ah,
It's like
okay, so
there we are. Yeah, it's so anyway, if I spot people on the streets or like out there like loving on music, I'll chat them up. I'll take a photo. I met a guy at a shop called Garageville. Do you know Garageville?
No.
Garageville's a really cool record shop way out kind of on the west side of Tokyo. He's got
Okay.
a little tiny bar in there.
Right.
And I met this guy from Philippines,
Oh,
from
okay.
Manila, and I waited like 6 months before I kind of like wrote a
Right.
story about him. I forgot his name,
Right,
and I
right.
called up the Garageville guy and I said, "Yo, hook me up. What's that guy's name that we met from from Manila?" And he said, "I can't remember his Instagram." So I looked up the top 5 record shops in Manila. And I messaged the first guy, "Hey, do you know this guy?"
Okay.
He said he was kind of connected to the record store scene
Right,
in
right.
Manila.
He's probably a collector.
And you said, "He looks familiar,
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah,
really
yeah,
recall."
yeah.
I mailed the next shop, and they're like, "Oh, that's Marlon."
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, great, I found him."
Yeah.
Took me 2 tries.
Uh-huh.
But then you messaged me and said,
Right.
"You have a record store?" And I said, "No, not exactly." But you said, "Well, I'm going to be back in Japan in a few months' time. Let's connect when I come." And now
here
we're
we are.
here. Here
Right.
we are.
So that's the backstory.
Yeah, that's the backstory of how we got connected. So Toti Garcia
Domacion.
Domacion.
Yeah.
And from Manila, and you have
From
a
Manila.
record store called This Is Pop.
This is Pop, and
This is
another
Pop,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Because your favorite band is XTC.
Correct.
One of their favorite,
one of their songs from
is
their
This
older
Is Pop,
albums,
right?
yeah.
I want to talk about XTC on our way down
Sure,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's kind of a little bit of a blind spot for me. I don't
Okay.
really know XTC's
Oh,
work,
really?
and I want to
Okay,
hear about
okay,
it. I actually, on my way to pick you up, I watched about 3/4 of this documentary that was made not so long
about
ago about
them.
them. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've had one of their records, the famous one with the like graphics.
Oh,
or
yeah,
design.
yeah. Drums and Wires.
Okay. Maybe I was like just 3 years too young for XTC, maybe.
Yeah.
And they were just a few. If I'd been
Yeah.
3 or 4 more years
well,
older.
Well, they aren't exactly the most fashionable band or whatever, the
Right.
the trendiest band in the 80s.
Right.
They were I think too English,
Possibly for the American
compared
audience.
to say the ones that came after,
Right.
which is more like the synth pops and it's like Duran Duran or
Right,
Spandau
right.
Ballet and all
Right.
that. But I mean, I shouldn't even be comparing them because they're completely different. They're more post-punk, well, new wavy, after punk, because they were a punk band initially. Like the first 2 albums, they were like very wiry and
Yeah, I got a little taste of them, and I have a feeling you're the second person, or maybe the third person that I met who's like all in on
Right,
XTC,
right,
and
right.
like
Yeah.
nothing kind of comes close, sort of.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, I have lots of stuff that I like, but I would still think XTC is my main
Right.
band.
I think we share a little music appreciation in this regard. Like I have a band that I'm kind of crazy for, and I think the reason that I love them is maybe the same reason that you love
Maybe,
XTC.
yeah.
And anyway, let's talk and drive.
Okay.
But I want to say real quick about your record store. This is Pop, and it's in Manila.
Correct.
And it's one of what, a dozen? Manila's an enormous city. 10 million? 5 million?
I think more than that.
15 or 20 million. One of
Yeah.
the biggest cities in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And the record culture scene is healthy and
It's
big or
thriving,
small?
I think, but thriving in a sense that it's trendy,
Right.
but not like
Not-
here,
okay.
wherein they're really very much into it.
And you've had your record store since...
I did have a record store way back in the 90s when I moved from Los Angeles.
Okay.
For
from-
a time.
okay.
I mean, we migrated to the States after
okay.
high school.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I stayed in LA for maybe 10 years or
Wow.
I mean, a lot of part on and off.
Okay,
But
cool.
and then we moved back, and that's pretty much what I wanted to do because that's the only thing that I like to do. Is
Right
really
on.
record, the record thing. And so in the night, yeah, that was in the early 90s. Mid 90s when we moved back. Then I opened my first record shop in Manila called Groove Nation.
Okay.
But it was kind of a different take on record shop because it's kind of hard for me to just bring in all the records, right,
Right.
coming from Los Angeles, and I mean I didn't have money.
Right.
I was just
Gotta
really
be
barely,
scrappy, yeah.
So it was more like order basis, and then a
Right.
few records in the shop. It worked for a while, but it didn't last long, maybe like 2 years. And
Okay.
so, fast forward years later, wherein maybe you have a little more money.
Right.
So I opened another
This
one,
is
which
Pop?
is This Is Pop, in
Okay.
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
Okay, so almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, congratulations.
Is it successful? I don't know because pretty much what I earn, I probably put
Pour back into the
Yeah,
shop.
so-
Well, you can, if you go follow This Is Pop on Instagram, you will see that it is a community of music lovers. It's a celebration of music loving and community. And you actually, the vernacular that you use on that particular Instagram feed is not so different from the what I'm
Right,
using
right,
for
right.
Tokyo Records. Everybody who comes into the shop
Yeah.
comes and shows off the records,
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
not everybody, but and
pretty much those who are comfortable,
right,
show
okay.
what they bought.
And there's a nice red motif on the walls. It looks like a really groovy record store, and it's kind of like primarily indie, shoegaze, synth
All of
pop,
these,
new wave,
yep.
post-punk type
yeah,
stuff.
that kind of stuff. But
And new and used records, both.
new and used.
Okay.
So that's why I obviously I ordered new stuff from Tokyo and the US and the UK directly, but for the used ones, obviously I do the digging, right?
Right.
That's why I'm always kind
Coming
of
to Japan, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, let's drive and talk. But you
Yeah.
also have a label. You also have an interest in photography. You also have an interest in fashion. TokyoRecordStyle is also a little, even though I'm like quite chubby, it also is like an interest in style.
Uh-huh.
So today you're going to meet a distributor who's having a little bit of a record fair, a family
Yeah.
sale of some kind
Yeah.
of things. We're going to drive down there. We didn't have really much time. We didn't have a time to hang out or connect, or we might not, or maybe we will again. Maybe
I'm
we
sure we will.
I have a little bit of time to kill, and I've got this in the Google Maps, I think, and we're gonna drive and talk. Dude, I'm so happy to meet you, Brian.
Same here. Yeah,
Toti,
it's good
very
to
nice
always
meet you.
have
new
new
friends.
person in
yeah,
Tokyo.
yeah. Okay, next stop is Tsurano, Ono Tsurano. It's a little bit of a. We're gonna take the longish way to go there. Okay, Shupats, let's go,
All right.
dude. So when did you arrive in Tokyo on this trip?
I got in yesterday. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
welcome back. No jet lag, basically no,
No,
jet lag.
no, just
right.
an hour difference.
Okay, so what? 5 times, 10 times you've been to Japan? Too many to count, or
No,
every
actually,
couple years?
it's gonna be crazy because I think I'm close to. This is probably my almost 50th,
Oh,
or
Nice.
it is that plenty.
okay.
A visit.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because ever since
Yeah.
we figured that
This is good.
it's
Good,
open.
right.
We went and we fell in love with Tokyo. My family and I.
Wonderful.
All the more obviously me because
Right.
of what I'm into, which is records, fashion, and
Right.
all these things.
What's the Philippine? Where's the embassy? Do you know where the embassy is? Or do you
Here?
know? Yeah.
No, I have
No
no
idea.
idea.
Okay. I have some Filipino friends here.
Mm.
So we had the good fortune to visit the Philippines once.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if we talked about it.
Yeah, we
talked,
did
We talked
for
a
a
little
bit,
bit about. Yeah, but I didn't really get to visit Manila. Do you know this character?
No.
Oh, this guy's funny. Hold on, we got to show him off. This is Tanuki.
Okay.
Tanuki is a character of Japanese mythology. It's a real animal.
All right.
He's like a half badger. He's like a raccoon.
Okay.
In English, we call him. He's the raccoon dog. It's a species unique to Asia, basically.
Okay.
You don't have him in Philippines.
No, I don't
maybe.
think so, no.
So, but you guys have like bingtorong, or you have some strange animals. There.
Yeah.
You guys got some weird ones. Anyway, he's a real creature. He's like the size of a raccoon or a fox or something. But he's also in Japanese mythology, and he comes from the animal world, and he shapeshifts into humans.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? There's a chance. Let's just back up just a bit. There's one funny point I should mention about him. You'll notice he's sitting on something. You'll notice he's sitting on a giant.
What is that?
That's his family jewels.
Oh, okay.
He's famous because he has an enormous package,
Right.
okay? And he comes from the animal world, and he uses his own bits and pieces as a parachute. He's
That
got
huge,
some,
right?
yeah. He uses
Right.
over his head as a canopy, and he parachutes down into the animal. And this goes back to like there's Tonka paintings and ukiyo-e, and there's like old traditional woodblock printings of.
Yeah.
Of these illustrations from 500 years ago, right?
Wow,
okay. So he comes and he's a mischief maker, and he likes sake, and he likes farm girls, and he's a little bit of a troublemaker, and he's got a big fat belly, and he drums on his belly, and he's constantly chasing for sake and farm girls.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And anyway, but yeah, Philippines, we got to go there for doing some volunteer work, which was really special. We got to go to the Visayas region, and we visited Cebu and Bantayan Island. Did you go to that area before?
I've been to Cebu, and I think even that area, but they were just hit by
another
storm.
one.
Yeah.
Oh no, man,
Yeah,
that
floods
place
and stuff. Yeah.
Dang, man.
Anyway.
It was really eye-opening, and basically that project is it's a photography project where we give photos to the families in need.
Right.
Just basically use photography as like a goodwill project. And one of the guys who sort of took up the torch there in Cebu, he eventually moved to Japan, and now he runs a tech company here. And so anyway, we've stayed connected, but I think like probably I don't know how strong the Philippine. There must be in the rankings of non-Japanese nationalities in Japan. I assume Philippines has got to be somewhere towards the top.
Yeah,
top 10 or 15.
Filipinos are everywhere.
Everywhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
There might be. I heard which one is it? I think it's like there's more Dominicans outside of Dominica than there are inside Dominica.
Probably the same.
But yeah, the national population of Philippines, 50, 100 million? No idea.
No idea.
Okay.
But a lot. Definitely.
A lot, yeah, millions of islands, and I mean, we had a wonderful experience there, but we were on a kind of a.
When was this?
This was 2015 after Typhoon Haiyan, Yolanda, and that was devastating. Yeah, it was really, really rough. Countless islands that were devastated by the tsunami, and we just went to 2 of them. But the guys who continued the project there, they went to many different places, and they used our method, and we supported them with some materials, and so those families immediately needed like shelter and food and that's not what we were really there to do. But after they get those initial needs met, then, like photos kind of make sense because they're kind of fun and they bring back a sense of psychological normalness, And, but at that time, there was like a double disaster in Cebu, I remember. Our main focus was on 2 different islands, and I can't remember the name of the second island. Bantayan was one, and the other I can't remember, but it's the egg making capital.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Where all the like eggs from Philippines and around the world, wherever Philippines is exporting eggs. So they're raising take the phone call as needed.
No, it's alarm.
Anyway, there was a fire in one of the how do I say the little neighborhood? How do I say the neighborhoods? The barangays. In one of the barangays, there was like a terrible fire as well. That was like I think maybe not connected to the.
Right.
So maybe it was. I can't totally remember, but I remember all the facades of all the buildings were missing, and you could see inside all the apartments.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was really, it was tragic, but life was going on, and just like wonderful generosity and hospitality everywhere I went.
Right.
And it was kind of a wonderful memory.
Filipinos are resilient.
Very.
So, yeah, life goes on.
Life goes on. Yeah.
It's always been like that.
So tell me a little bit. Okay, so your family goes to LA in the 90s. In the 90s, you're in. Are you in the 80s? In the 80s.
Late
okay.
80s, yeah.
Are you in high school around that time?
Well, I finished high school here, and then we moved.
And so, was it culture shock moving to America?
No. I mean, Filipinos are.
It's true because I remember.
Are very Americanized. So
right.
I mean,
it's true. It's much more so than maybe a lot of other countries in Asia.
Yeah.
Probably the most.
Yeah, that's why we speak English.
Right, better than everybody else.
It's it's like 300 years of Spaniard.
Right.
And then 50 years of Hollywood. So.
Right. And I hope it's not inappropriate to say that like that Spanish and Asian, how to put it, flair is really comes through. There's some amazingly beautiful and handsome people across the country, and very quite a unique. That's the spirit of the. I don't know, the Latin spirit is something in the Filipino beer. I think the San Miguel beer or whatever it is. That Spanish influence is very, very interesting.
Right.
We went to the place actually where who was the famous explorer who was killed in the Philippines. There was a famous Spanish explorer. Magellan.
Yeah.
Magellan was brutally killed not far from Cebu.
Exactly.
We went to the place where that was. Yeah. So So yeah, and I remember seeing like, of course, I think like basketball is one
basketball
of the, is very huge.
Considering, we're not
Right.
the tallest, but it's improved, obviously.
Okay.
Everything's improved since the last time you've probably
Right.
been there.
I'm sure.
So,
I'm sure.
but then again, at the same time, there's still
Yeah, a
it's
lot
the
of
same.
people living in poverty
Lots
and
of
a lot of
corruption.
corruption. I'm sure. Yeah.
So it really depends on where you're at.
Right. So you also have a record label.
Yeah. Terno Recordings.
Terno Record, and spell it for it. We'll
It's
leave it-
TRNO.
TRNO.
Which is also the national dress.
I can imagine a wedding where they're wearing like some kind of costume. When you say dress, you mean the style?
The one with the thing that if you look at
We'll put a picture of it up.
yeah.
Okay.
But Terno also means to match.
to match.
Yeah, and
Okay.
sync, right?
Okay, I like it. Okay, and you were inspired by that to name your label, your record label.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
wonderful.
I also like that thinking, to match. Like when you even when you're dressing up,
Yeah.
it's like
Okay.
color combination,
Right,
and things like that.
contrast and juxtaposition. Yeah, very
exactly.
cool.
So that's why it's.
I
Terno.
love that. I love that. Paul Simon's Graceland. You know this album,
yeah.
1986, maybe 87,
Probably,
something like this. So I was probably 10, 11, 12 years old, and
So I'm way older than you.
anyway, I was. I remember I was confused why it was called Graceland, because Graceland was Elvis's home.
Right.
But this record was like from Africa, right? And I was like, why is it called Graceland? And I read in an interview a long time in some magazine that said that Paul Simon was so inspired by Elvis's merging of gospel and rhythm and blues. And it was Paul Simon's tribute to that spirit of merging two incongruent things to bring like, Western pop and Afro Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, this kind of like South-African. I love this notion of like merging two incongruent things together and seeing what's. That's a beautiful notion. So the funny thing is that Terno Records, Terno Records recordings, forgive me, and this is pop, and you have your own Insta, which maybe we'll leave in the show notes. But I noticed that one of my good friends who I run a podcast with on my channel, Michael Warren. He's also American. I met him in Japan some years ago, one of my dearest buds, and he plays keyboards in a band called Advantage Lucy. Do you know Advantage Lucy? You might not know him, but I noticed that, and Advantage Lucy has a big cult following. They're kind of an indie pop band from the late, I don't know how far they go back. I'm going to mid-90s.
Right.
And they kind of had kids and grew up, and they stopped being and they play 3 or 4 times a year, but when they play, all their super fans come out and see them. And he's following all 3 of your...
Really?
Yeah. And I noticed that when I was kind of like being like, I want to learn about you. And so I called him before I was like, I said, hey, I'm going to meet up with this guy named Toti, and you're following him. How do you know about him? You're following his record store, his record label, and his personal account. What do you know about him? And he told me that one of his friends, one of his band colleagues, one of his friends in the music business, whose name is Mai, and who has a band. I should have gone on that one. We'll go this way. Who has a band called Burrito or
Bertoya.
Bertoya. That you released their record on cassette. It's a small world.
Yeah, she's she stays in Kichijoji.
In Kichijoji. Okay, that's not far from where I live.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, maybe who knows? Maybe we cross paths.
Yeah.
Do you ever go?
Okay.
Yeah. I lived 10 years in Shimokitazawa.
Okay.
And then when the kids came, I have 2 kids. When they came, we moved a little bit further down a little bit further away from Shibuya and more closer towards Kichijoji. So now I live like halfway between Shimokitazawa and Kichijoji. It's kind of like a wonderful little place to live. Yeah.
And it's probably that around the same time, when you were living in Shimokitazawa, that we discovered Shimokitazawa.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, right.
And that's probably our most favorite place.
That's a cool place, right?
I mean, it's become touristy, obviously, but it's still
retained
magical.
Its charm. Yeah. When my friends first brought me to Shimokitazawa, I wasn't really that interested to live. When I was just coming through Japan, I was on a big sort of Asian backpacker trip, and they took me to Shimokitazawa on my last day. I said like, oh, I want to live here. Tokyo's great, but this little village with all these like people carrying around guitars on their back and rolling around guitar pedals and drum cases. I thought, oh, this is something special is going on here. Yeah, very cool. So one of the really cool things about photographing people for TokyoRecordStyle. So I'll tell you, it comes from another thing called Tokyo Camera Style.
Okay.
A friend of mine from Nebraska who's been living in Japan for as long as I've been living here, basically, he when he sees people with their old school film cameras, he says, "Hey, can I photograph you with your camera?" And and now he's so popular and he's so big that they all say like, "Oh my God, you're the guy who." Yes, of course. Please take my picture. He's got maybe 500,000 followers.
Wow.
And he's doing really well for himself. But a lot of people kind of misunderstand his feed, his blog roll, and they think it's about gear. But it's actually about fashion.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he talks about, and he's kind of really deep inside Japanese amateur photography, and he kind of made me aware of this notion that like amateur is a word that we think is sort of lesser than pro.
Right.
He explained to me that in Japan, amateur might be considered higher than pro, because a professional is somebody who has to go to work to do to do it, and an amateur, an ama, I think comes from the word of like love. It's like Greek or Latin for love, and it's like the person who doesn't have to try so hard to compete with the pro because they have a natural love and a natural talent. It's a real deep passion photography community, but I recognize it for being a fashion thing. I think is this the airport? Are we out near Haneda? Why did I bring that up? Fashion. One of the fun things about the TokyoRecordStyle project is that like I learn about I photograph people and I see them and I'm like, oh, XTC, I know it, but I don't really know it, or maybe some record I've never even heard of, or some band, some metal thing, or some like really obscure thing, or a video game soundtrack, or like all kinds of random things. And so then I go home and I like listen to the records, and I'm like, whoa, this is really interesting, and I'm like really expanding my musical horizons by discovering music this way. I'm calling it like the human algorithm, rather than like listening to what some algorithm is feeding me based on my clicks and my data. It's like what I'm following, what I'm finding on the streets, So one of the kinds of music that I found that I kind of like had a moment with was, I think it's called Dungat or Gandut. I never quite remember. Gundat, I think it's the native like Indonesian music. And it's like it's almost like it was like the 70s pop music that young people listened to that they wanted to like rebel against their parents in the 70s and 80s. And it kind of sounds to my ears a little bit like, I don't know, cheese. It sounds a little folky. It's like, it's not great, but it's interesting. I don't really, and I wanted to ask you, like the local Filipino music. Tell me about the Filipino music scene. Like I'm sure it's a giant spectrum of everything. But like, what's the traditional? Where does the traditional come into the new? What's out there? What can be discovered?
Well, obviously you have the traditional, right?
Which is more. Does that genre of music have some many styles and names that's worth like digging into?
I wouldn't know.
Who are some of the like legends of the say 50s and 60s and 70s?
Oh well, if we're talking about 50s onwards, even 40s, obviously that's a little bit more westernized already. Yeah. What I'm talking about, trying to see what you're getting at is like the more like tribal and the instruments from the. But of course I wouldn't know, right? So I don't even know what it's called, but it's like, I guess you could say it's folk, music, and eventually, if you're talking about the Indonesian one, I would assume that it's also partly Western because of the folk back in the 70s, right, from America. But yeah, going back to the 50s and all, it's pretty much the same. You have your standards like in the US, doo-wop and jazz vocal and crooners, and so forth. And obviously by the 70s, you have your rock and your disco
and punk
and punk, even punk, we have that as well. But again, based on Western, right? What you see, what you read about.
So those early folk recordings, like the traditional music, there's people who are still carrying those traditions. Can you find those recordings?
Recording wise, I'm not so sure, but I'm pretty sure there have been records pressed on those. I'm trying to think of what the term is, or what it's called.
Do you know this instrument in Brazil where they have it's like a little gourd with one string? It's probably in China. I'm guessing they're playing it with a bow, but in Brazil they're playing it like a gong 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 gong. Right. There's a whole slew of different.
I'm sure we have our own version, or something. Yeah, I just can't think of.
I can't imagine people know well about it.
But yeah, like I said, we're very much westernized. So I mean, me being someone who was a kid in the 70s, I saw that movies and music from the 50s were like similar to how it is in Hollywood.
Right.
So they're just mirroring the thing, but obviously in our language and things like that. And
Is romance like over schmaltzy? Is there or is it overacted a little bit like in Japan, or is there like a Bollywood kind of thing, or is it?
I wouldn't say there's like a Bollywood kind of thing, but yeah, it's more of a reflection of Hollywood,
Okay.
right? So you have your idols and your matinee idols,
Right.
and things like that. Your couples,
romantic
comedy,
comedy
whatever
kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay.
I mean everything, pretty
Everything,
much.
yeah.
So
How about like sorry to just interrupt, but like
Yeah, yeah.
how about reggae or
you wouldn't believe, but yeah, we do have reggae.
Filipino
Yeah,
reggae,
yeah,
hip hop,
yeah.
Filipino hip hop too?
Yeah, all
And
them
that's-
are now. Yeah.
Right, and it's going off. It's having a moment.
yeah,
super huge.
Especially now.
Right.
As far as hip hop and R&B, modern R&B.
Okay.
I mean, this is what I hear from the kids, right? What's out on Spotify? What's big on Spotify?
Who is the artist that you know nothing about, but all the kids are listening to? Is there like a, or is it all the interest in Western music, or is it like?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's also because of like K-pop and stuff. We have our own version of it and things like that. I mean, I've actually changed because in the past I've been very close-minded when it comes to pop.
Right.
And I just like everything that's more underground and stuff like that. But I've obviously realized, and I should, because I'm trying to understand how the landscape is right. Locally, and what the trends are, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much how it is. It's really very pop right now, and
At the HMV in Shibuya, there's a Taiwanese wall of music, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of new.
Yeah.
There was a K-pop wall, but to
Right.
now see the Sunset roller coaster is like a quite popular one from
yeah.
Taiwan, and I know there's dozens more, but it's great to see like interest in new music coming from the East. I heard that at Coachella like 2 or 3 years ago there was a stage where they like got all the Asian artists on the same stage, whether they be Chinese, Taiwanese, Japanese, Korean, Philippine, I'm not sure, but they invited, there was half a dozen or a dozen Asian acts, East Asian acts, and they put them all on the same stage, and they were rapping in Japanese and then in Chinese and then all the different languages, and I don't know if the American audience really could even distinguish between the styles and the languages.
Right.
However, it was the biggest crowded. It was the most crowded and most interesting thing that happened at Coachella. The audience was double the size that they expected for it, and it spilled over outside of the tent. And they probably needed to be on the main stage, and it was on kind of a minor stage. And of course, there's this massive interest in city pop and K-pop and from Western audiences, and where culture has flowed from west to east for so many generations. My daughter is just writing a paper right now for one of her classes about how now pop culture is starting to flow from east to west, which is really interesting. Yeah, I'd like to tap into we'll have to start a conversation. You'll have to say like, okay, if you want to know what the kids are, here's the hip hop artist that's like people are going crazy for right now. It'd be fun. I love. So do you know Chi Shimizu? Do you know Shimizu? Okay, I assume you know him. And there's Peter Barracon. There's a handful of like musicologists.
Wow.
One of the first things that I got tapped into musically here was Happy End.
Okay.
One of the actually the very first thing that I discovered 20 years ago was my friends were like, he'll like this, which led me to Hosono, which led me to Sakamoto, which led me to YMO. Let's talk about XTC a little bit.
Okay.
You talk about pop music. I listened to like 3/4 of this documentary before meeting up with you. They're talking about one of the things that I don't know the names of the band members, but one of them is talking about how they saw themselves as not really being post-punk or new wave. They just saw themselves as being like a pop music. So how did you discover? What were you listening to at the time? And like, did XTC come to you and like a tsunami of? Was it like all in one go, or were you instantly all in, or was there a song? How did you come to love XTC?
Well, I come from a family of musicians, and a very musically oriented family. My uncles were in a band that pioneered Filipino pop, Manila sound in the 70s, right?
Really?
They're called Hot Dog.
Nice.
It's Hot Dog because they initially lived in Hawaii for a time, right? Under a different band called Red Fox.
Okay.
And they were doing maybe covers of Rolling Stones and things like that. I'm not pretty sure. Not much into classic rock.
Okay.
But anyway, when they got back to Manila, they formed Hot Dog, and at the time, most of what you hear on radio stations were just English songs.
Right.
Right. So
I see where this is going.
They pioneered the whole
Singing
in Filipino or Filipino English.
Well,
called
I love
Taglish.
Called Taglish.
Tagalog.
Tagalog, yeah.
So it's
Taglish.
a combination, yeah, and to make it more kind of
Original.
original and more appealing to the
Okay.
youth, right?
Okay.
Because initially, you know how we're kind of we have this colonial mentality of, well, obviously, we think everything Western is better than local.
Right.
So, and given that it's mostly English on the radio, you have, you know, the kids have this impression that, well, this is what's best, right?
Right.
And anything else than that is a bit like cheesy or cringe or whatever. So it's them doing this that made it more open, more appealing to the youth of the day, right? And to
I'm
this
so
day,
happy to hear this story. Keep going.
yeah, and to this day, it's obviously it went on and mutated into what's local right now.
Were they a well-known band? Hot Dog?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I mean,
okay.
pretty well known, quite big, but maybe they're just like XTC. They weren't, I wouldn't say as trendy as the others that came after them.
Right.
You know how these things sometimes happen. Maybe they were a bit, I wouldn't say underground. They're not underground. They're still very, very pop, but they
obviously
didn't
they
play
had-
the game, right?
right.
Yeah, so
Underground
so,
a bit. Inspired you as well, very
yeah.
much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Did you get to go to their live shows?
yes,
when you
yes,
were a
yes,
kid?
yes.
Okay.
My mom was a manager, so I tagged along pretty much most of the time. So that's why how exposed I am
I see.
to music. So anyway, I think I kind of like went sideways. You're asking me how I discovered
Yeah,
XTC,
sorry,
right?
we're talking about XTC.
So yeah, so anyway, I'm into music, right? So
Right.
I'm into everything. Like at a very young age, I was into what my uncles were listening to, what my parents were listening to. So that's everything from the 40s to 50s, 60s, and to the 70s. By the time I was in elementary, maybe like 5th grade or something.
Right.
Of course, there are trends, right? So while pretty much everyone was into top 40, which is the usual American,
Right.
like Casey Kasem top 40.
Casey Kasem,
yeah,
Top 40. This is
yeah.
what I was listening.
Yeah,
I had my recording the lists
Right.
on my boombox.
Yeah. So
Embarrassingly, but yes.
but initially, there's always trends, right? So after top 40, for some reason, I don't know, jazz fusion seemed to be trendy. And at grade 5, I used to carry like records with me of like Wilbert Longmire, Bob James, and stuff like that, you know, to show off in school.
Right.
So it wasn't very in. But by around 79, maybe 78, 79, I got hold of the whole punk thing,
Right.
which was kind of a little late, right? Maybe 2 years late, because obviously I would read it in imported magazines like Rolling Stones
Right.
and stuff like that. That got me interested and hooked into all of these names like The Clash and Talking Heads and things like that. So any local release of or compilation of punk and new wave, whatever release there is that's available in Manila, I would obviously get into it. And little by little, I was kind of like getting off my jazz fusion phase, right? So, and in one of those compilations, it's called Punk and New Wave, I forget. There's obviously an XTC song, or is it maybe, so I think I got it wrong. I think there's this compilation called Times Square, which was a movie.
Okay.
And there was a song there from XTC as well as The Cure and Roxy Music and things like that. Anyway, the song from XTC, I think that was the first one that I heard from them, which got me hooked, which led me to buy their 4th album maybe. It's called Black Sea.
Okay.
Which was available locally, so I bought it and
On cassette?
on
On
cassette,
CD?
on cassette,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And that's when I really got into them,
Right.
because it just spoke to me, all the subject and like songs like Generals and Majors.
What are the subjects of XTC? Lyrically.
Well, of course, it's about love, relationship,
Right.
and
Are they abstract? Are they?
no, they're
okay.
pretty much straightforward,
Okay.
and in a very, very intelligent way. I mean, the lyric writing is top notch.
I read that when I was hearing that there's two primary songwriters.
Yes,
Is that
Colin
right?
Moulding and
Okay.
Andy Partridge. Partridge being the main one, but Colin Moulding can write really well as well as Andy. And so that's how I got into XTC. And through the years, obviously, I've discovered others way more. Like my other main acts would be like maybe my top 10 would be say Japan, David Sylvian.
Yeah, David Sylvian.
Yeah, from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Weller. Terry
JM.
Hall
Okay.
from Special. So it's a mixed bag, but pretty much.
So what about these are all very British influences.
I was very Anglophile
right?
in my teens.
And were you rebelling against the American sort of?
Yeah, in a way.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's like like my uncles were kind of very impressed with a lot of what was out there by then. Obviously, your AORs and like your Doobie Brothers and Ambrosia and things like that, which I love now.
Right.
But back then it was like no. There's so many stuff going on. There's Human League. There's ABC. There's very much into the English bands.
The fourth record, XTC. But I'm going to go on the same path as you did.
Okay.
The first one that you got is Blackened. What would you say?
It's Black Sea.
Black Sea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might even be wrong if it's the fourth, but I think it is the fourth.
There was a time when I spent every penny I had I get paid on a Friday, and by Saturday I would have had no more money. I'd spend it all on the record, right? And I would go record shopping with a guy who was he's probably 7 or 8, maybe 10 years older than me, and he insisted I buy so many records that I probably didn't really appreciate at the time. He said, "Oh, here's Flipper, here's David Sylvian, here's Japan, here's what were some? I mean, just so much post-punk stuff that I went home and it was too sophisticated for me, and it was too just like a cacophony of it wasn't melodic enough. It wasn't sugary enough.
It wasn't the straightforward.
Right. And but I tried because I respected his musical taste, and I knew that he was from Chicago and quite an underground guy, and there was enough overlap in our musical interests that I trusted that I needed to learn to appreciate this stuff. And when you mentioned cassette, or when I wondered if you got this cassette, and I wondered, my mind instantly went to They Might Be Giants. There was a song that was like, I'm of the MTV generation. I know you are too, but probably MTV was rather cheesy to your. Right, but it was like all we had.
Not really, but yeah, that was
we were like the 1984 kids. We were the ET kids, right? Yeah. And you too, but we just lapped it all up.
Exactly.
And I remember They Might Be Giants had a tune. Why is the world in love again? It's 1990, the brand new record for 19. And I went out and I looked. I was like, I found there's a great song that I heard at like 3 o'clock in the morning on MTV. And I went and I bought the cassette at the local Kmart or whatever it was. And I got home, only to find out that the tune that I really wanted to hear was not on that record.
Okay.
Right? And I was like, I think I was on a family trip, and it was like...
Which was this?
It was Lincoln. It was their first record, okay? Which is great. Which is a great record. But I remember I had it on my Walkman. I fast forwarded to the next song, and the next song, and the next song, and the next song, and then flipped it over, and the next song. I was like, didn't recognize it. Tried again, wasn't there, and I was like, I just spent my last $10 on this cassette or whatever it was, $7, and... But through that experience, like I learned, I was like, well, I'm stuck with this for the next 2 weeks. I might as well listen to it and learn to love it. And through the act of like acquiring a taste for something through intention and mental exercise, that's really what. That's why I love music. It's like, it's not really whether I like it or not, but it's like learning to like it, learning to understand why it got made. If it got made, there's an audience, for it, even if it's only for the person who made it, and I want to know what that's about. And so I'm not really that too particular about the kind of music that I listen to. I kind of like I'm a little basic, I admit, but if I find something that's really, really way off of my palate, I'm curious about it. I'm interested to be like, okay, what is going on here?
I think They Might Be Giants might be a little influenced by XTC.
I'm sure, and actually, you know what?
But all the more, I think the closest would be, and I think he doesn't even deny this, but it's Oingo Boingo, who's a little close to XTC. Yeah.
I heard that they toured with the Police, right? And the Police they were also just ever so slight. They were of my time, but they were
Right.
a little older. If I had an older brother and uncle or something,
he
they would
would've
have been
passed you the-
right. He would have given me the CD. I'm the oldest of 5, so I didn't have anybody giving me
Right,
CDs
right,
and cassettes or whatever, or LPs for that matter. And my parents were sort of the Laurel Canyon, Joni Mitchell,
okay.
Cat Stevens,
Right,
James
right,
Taylor
right.
kind of. So that and Beatles and
Yeah.
I mean good stuff, but
Yeah.
I had to search out underground music
Right.
and via MTV, and there wasn't. I couldn't. And I was from Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma, so there wasn't. Probably like many. I mean, I would imagine it's even harder in the Philippines, but Manila being such a sort of international city, it was probably easier for you to find underground Western music than it might have been for
Really?
me. Maybe not, but maybe.
Yeah.
But the band that I'm crazy for, I'm absolutely, which is Fish, which you might scoff at because you haven't really like dived into them, but Fish inherited the legacy of the Grateful Dead and are known for being a jam band or whatever.
Right.
But that's really to misunderstand them because there's so much more than that. And I'm sure that they're of the, their influences beyond. Maybe the Grateful Dead or maybe some classic rock kind of stuff are Stravinsky and Ravel and bluegrass and Genesis and Can and all of this great music from all spectrums of music. Yeah. And this is one of their best albums. I'm going to encourage you to check this one out. This one's called Billy Breeze, and this one is produced by Steve Lillywhite, who I think produced a handful
Drums and Wires.
of Drums and Wires. Okay, so thanks for indulging me with a little Fish stuff. But the reason that we love this band is not because of the melodies are so hooky or the jams are so like great or their guitar solos are so insane, but it's because they're constantly pushing what music can be. And I think Ecstasy definitely has this in their in their DNA. And I have a feeling that I might be finally at 49 years old, I finally might be at a point where I can like listen to a record of Ecstasy and be like, okay, time to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
I think you probably know one of their accidental hits.
Okay.
Which is Dear God.
Okay,
that's an MTV.
That's
an MTV surprise hit because it's a B-side of a single.
Right.
And one DJ in the States played the B-side instead, and it was controversial because of the subject, right? Dear God.
Right.
So, and that's probably one of their, if not the biggest hit that they've had in the U.S.
Okay.
But other than that, it's just a few minor, and even in England, they're not really. They're from Swindon,
right? Which is I heard is like a sort of they scoff at Swindon as being a place where nothing good comes from Swindon, right?
So they're not very fashionable or anything like that, but they're very much critically acclaimed and considered to be. People are probably going to disagree, but a lot of people also agree is that they're kind of like the Beatles.
I can see it. There's 4 of them,
yeah.
and they each bring a unique aspect to the.
Right.
There's a serious one. There's a funny one. There's a slaying one. Okay, this Fish is the same. Has the same thing. They're the same, and so Trey Anastasio, the guitar virtuoso and the sort of front man of Fish, he famously plays in another band. Kind of like a supergroup band, a short-lived supergroup band with Les Claypool from Primus and with Stuart Copeland from The Police on drums, which is a really groovy band called Oysterhead. That might be an interesting entry point for this band. So this has been a really fun musical exchange.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not far off.
No, and it's different. It's just like it's like 2 sides of the same coin, basically.
Yeah.
So. Let's wrap that up. That was a nice little chat all the way down here, man. Toti for an American. Toti.
Like, they used to call me Toti. But it's Toti.
Toti Garcia Dalmatian. Dude, cheers. Thank you for that nice conversation. We still have some hanging out to do, but we're officially arrived at the place where we're supposed to be. Right. We're going to get a coffee, and we're going to put a bow on this conversation. Maybe we'll edit some of it. Who knows? But thank you for letting me have a nice little interview.
It was fun.
It was fun, yeah.
And I got a free ride.
yeah, right? And I got some great musical recommendations. I'm going to ask you for your top 4. Nate, rattle them off. Your top 4 XTC records.
Oh, God, that's difficult. Drums and Wires. Black Sea. Skylarking. Probably Oranges and Lemons. So that's 4 already.
Okay.
And I know it shouldn't be that.
And a bonus and an extra for. There's 12, 15 albums, 20 albums. And we got a little something old, a little something new, something of everything.
Maybe Mummer.
Okay, we got those. That's my homework. All right, dude. I think Ecstasy is on my
Yeah.
new to be appreciated music. Toti, thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you.
And
My pleasure,
let's figure this out. And maybe if there's any time, we'll see if we can dig through some records. Otherwise, we might just sign off. But okay, wrap a bow on that for now. All right, folks, we are at Tsurumi Ono Station, and I just wanted to say goodbye to Toti-san, who I had an amazing drive with down here, and who introduced me to his friend Hiro-san. Hiro, thank you for meeting me, and thanks for the introduction, Toti-san. He's a Japanese music-loving appreciator, musicologist. They are here to visit Toyokase, the record pressing plant, and if I had more time, I would join them on a little dig and a little tour of the record pressing plant, but I don't have enough time today. But it will be, what I hope is the first of more visits together. Hiro-san, 本当にありがとうございます。
ありがとう。
Nice to meet you guys. But thank you for saying hello to TokyoRecordStyle. He's a fan of the channel. He already knows. I think we already have a lot of mutual friends, and I want to interview him and hang out with him on a future video. Toti-san, ganbatte kudasai. Have fun in Japan, and maybe we'll see you again before you leave.
Yes.
Ganbatte have fun at the record fair, and I see you guys next time, yeah? All right, 本当にありがとう. See you guys. Bye.